every hour of sleep that you get before midnight, maybe up to the equivalent of 2 hours after midnight. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jason West. I'm excited to share with you this topic on the sleeping sanctuary. In this video, I'm going to talk about why it's so important to sleep, but I'm going to share with you 27 secrets to having a good night's sleep. Because if you can't sleep, you can't heal. And one of the things I tell people is we don't think anything of going out and spending 10 or 15 or 20 or $30,000 on a car that you're going to be in 10% of your life. And then when I tell people one of the most important things that you can do is to make sure that you have a good bed, because you're going to spend 33% of your life, 8 hours a night, you're going to spend in your bed. And you got to make sure that it's a good bed. It's not one that you got at the Goodwill, that not one that you picked up from grandma or grandpa or hand-me-down or got it from a cousin or anything like that. I mean, invest in a bed. It's the most important investment that you're going to make. But if you can't sleep, again, you can't heal. I think it's one of the absolute pillars of health. We know that it helps with brain function. We know it helps with performance. We know it helps with mental cognition. It's a significant risk factor in making sure you don't get type 2 diabetes. So all of these wonderful benefits of your sleep and your sleeping sanctuary, when you go to that place, this is where your body recharges. And so let me start sharing some of the topics associated with sleep. The first thing is it needs to be a dark place. You can't sleep, you can't get into good healing patterns in REM mode if you have too much light. And the second thing is you can't have too much sound. Now what happens with that is if you have all these sounds and it's disrupting your sleeping patterns, you can't get it into restorative mode, and that also goes along with number 3, which is alarm clocks and LED lights and lights coming off your TV. Our body is an electrical system, and if we have other electrical systems in the area, it has a tendency to throw them off, which leads to tip number 4, which is to have a grounding pad. Now there's actually a really neat way where you can take a grounding sheet and you can plug it into the third little hole in your electrical socket, the grounding socket, and you can ground electrical impulses. And you don't even have to believe in this to see if it makes it work. I have had so many skeptics that I've told about this to say that doesn't work, and then what happens is they ground themselves and they get way better restorative sleep. Another tip that we need to follow is I really like using alarm clocks, just not LED alarm clocks. Because what happens when you set an alarm clock, and even if you wake up at the same time every morning, you're a creature of habit, what happens is if you're struggling to get to sleep and you tell your body, I'm going to rest because I know my alarm clock is going to wake me up at the time I'm supposed to get up, I found that a lot of people get better rest. Another sleeping tip I like to share with people is journaling. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of a little woodpecker on your shoulder where it'll sit there and it'll say, don't forget about this, don't forget about this. What about your neighbor? What about your kids? What about your to-do list? And if you're journaling or actually write those down, it helps to get rid of your brain. It won't stop turning. It's a fantastic way to get better rest. One of the best things you can do for sleep is to give yourself positive affirmations and tell yourself, I don't have a sleeping problem. I get to sleep on time. I can get to sleep quickly. I can get to sleep easily. I'll have restorative sleep. The ability to reconnect and to tell your body that you're going to get rest is a really important step in making a sleeping sanctuary. I think it's really important to make sure that you're going to bed at the same time and you're getting up at the same time. And this is hard when you're in college. I'm guilty for this, where I wanted to have a great social life, and on the weekends I go out and have a lot of fun, and I would work graveyard and grave shift and stuff like that as I was supporting myself and my wife as we were going through school. But if you can get consistent sleep, go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time every night, it really helps with your sleeping patterns. Now, one of the neatest things that I found is to have some white noise. I like waves crashing. You can get these little tiny recording devices, or you can plug it into your phone to give you relaxing white noise or relaxing music. You want to make sure that it's not music that really gets you up and excited to do different things. Maybe the hard rock or some of your workout music isn't appropriate for trying to wind down, but it'll really help you get into a nice rhythm and get you to nod off to sleep. One of the hard things that so many people do that are hard on themselves when they go to bed is they get some type of sugary snack. And in my neck of the woods, one of the favorite things that many people do is to get a bowl of ice cream or a bowl of cereal, or eat a cookie or a brownie, or have some type of sugary drink, and that's like adding energy to the system. It's really hard for your body to shut off. So if you're one of those people that struggles with blood sugar levels, hypoglycemia, or the new terminology is neuroglycopenia, which means if your blood sugar gets too low, the nerves fail. If you're waking up at night, it's a really good idea to have some protein before you go to bed. Some cottage cheese or some nuts or some beans or even a piece of beef jerky. That really helps so you have sustainable energy, your blood sugar doesn't drop and wake you up in the middle of the night. Now, an unpopular thing that I tell people in your sleeping sanctuary, it's a good idea to get the electronics out of your room, whether it's your smartphone or your iPad or your TV, because if you're getting lots of stimulation to your body, it's really hard to wind down and get into sleep. Now, I almost caused marital discord with this next recommendation, but sometimes people's extremities get cold and it makes it hard for them to get to sleep. And so I recommend with some people to try an experiment to sleep with socks. Their response back when I say, hey, we should wear socks to bed. I wear socks to bed. My wife doesn't. She thinks it's weird. I think she's weird, but we both get good sleep. One of the most important things you can do for health and sleep is to make sure that you have good self-communication, not only with yourself, but your supreme being. This isn't a religious video, but I do believe that there's something bigger than us, and that if you communicate with your supreme being, I think it really helps with your sleeping pattern. So I'm a really big advocate of prayer. I'm a voracious reader. I love to read, and when I'm trying to nod off, and I have sleep problems, so this is one of the reasons I was so excited about this video. But if I'm reading the wrong type of book, where it's really suspense, it's a mystery, a thriller, a spy shoot 'em up book, sometimes it makes it hard for me to wind down. So be really careful with what you're reading at night. One of the hardest things for people when they start the morning is if they have a great big bell or alarm clock or some really not loud, obnoxious noise. It throws your body into a state of stress and panic at the beginning of the day. And I think those light alarm clocks, where you get gradual more and more light, just like you're waking up in the morning, are the healthier alarm clocks. Be careful that the sound isn't too jarring in the morning. One of the things that I've seen that really helps with sleep is your vitamins. Magnesium, molybdenum, selenium can really help to get you into your relaxation mode. Also, I think melatonin is really good. Melatonin has some really neat effects in the body. One of them has the ability to help to nod off and go to sleep. It doesn't work on everybody, but anywhere from 1 to 3 milligrams of melatonin I think is really good before bed. There's some research that I read that shows that every hour of sleep that you get before midnight may be up to the equivalent of 2 hours after midnight. And so maybe a better way to say that is like Benjamin Franklin said, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. If you go to bed before midnight, I think you get a lot better sleep than you do after midnight. Now, something that's almost caused a divorce for your sleeping sanctuary is to make sure that you don't have any electromagnetic frequency radiation sickness going on in the background, which means our bodies are electrical devices. If we have a lot of electrical noise or disturbance in the background, it can throw off our own energy or electrical patterns. And so something that worked really well for me is to go downstairs into our utility room and flip off all the breakers of the house, shut off all the electricity. It really seemed to help me sleep better. Now, my wife was always worried about the food in the freezer and the refrigerator going bad, but as long as those aren't open, it will maintain the temperature. It's a wonderful suggestion of really getting restorative sleep. Now, if your bedroom is too hot and makes it difficult to sleep and wind down, I recommend your bedroom be a little bit cooler than the rest of your house. Even have a window open or a fan, as long as the fan's not right above you, because in acupuncture I learned that there are perverse winds that can enter in and throw off your yin and your yang and your qi and so everything else. I don't like it when it's directly on you, but a fan over on your dresser or on the floor that's getting air to circulate has been really helpful for some people to get better sleep patterns. As a natural doctor, I'm not anti-medicine, but I'm always cautious when it comes to sleeping aids, whether it is the Unisom, whether it is prescriptive medications. As much as possible, you want to avoid those. It is really important to get sleep, and if that's the only way you get to sleep, maybe that's just how you're hardwired. If you follow the steps for the sleeping sanctuary, which is making sure that it's dark, that you were getting some minerals, possibly some melatonin, that you get electronics out of the bedroom, that you were making sure that you're warm enough, possibly wearing socks to bed, depending on if that was working for you or not. Journaling, meditating, and praying, not watching TV, not reading books. It really helps to get you into the right restorative sleep mode. Another tip that I frequently advise people not to do is to avoid alcohol and avoid stimulants before you go to bed. What happens is that just revs up your system too much. Sometimes some people say if I have a little sip of wine or a little bit of red wine before I go to bed, it seems to really help calm me down. But for the most part, alcohol and stimulants like caffeine or energy drinks or diet soda really make it hard for you to nod off. I've had this experience happen myself when I've had sleeping problems. Is I love to go play basketball about 9 o'clock. I'd come home at 10:30 or 11 and I could not wind down because I had all this energy and I got my body all into the movement patterns. And so I prefer to exercise in the morning, and I've routinely found that to be really a helpful suggestion for people that are struggling. If they exercise in the morning and wind down at night, it helps them get into good sleep patterns. A lot of people's sleep gets interrupted when they have too much liquid in their system and they're having to get up and go to the bathroom. And so I recommend really not drinking a lot of stuff after 7 p.m. It'll help it so you don't have to get up and interrupt your sleep patterns. One of the neat things that you can do to help with your circulation is to do something that's hot, but you're not doing a lot of exercise. So a really warm bath with Epsom salts or an infrared or even a wet sauna to get the blood circulation to the extremities really helps people to sleep. Now, when we talk about a sleeping sanctuary, you want to make sure that that's where you go to sleep and not to work. And so if you are in the habit of looking at your iPad or your smartphone or your laptop in bed, I'd advise you to do something to interrupt that habit and reserve work for workplaces and sleep for sleep places. Hopefully you got some good ideas from the tips for a sleeping sanctuary. Again, if you can't sleep, you can't heal. I think it's one of the most important cornerstones of health. It's a risk factor reduction for so many chronic disease. And when people are struggling with their energies throughout the day and they need a Diet Coke or they need a powder donut or an energy drink in the afternoon, if you'll engineer your life to have a good sleeping sanctuary, you can usually get rid of those crutches throughout the day. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you'd like more information, education, or want to work with us, head over to bestmedicaloptions.com. And if you want to help to reach, teach, and heal the world, leave a comment, like, share it with someone that you love. It may seem like an impossible task, but those that are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do.